From mastercraft ships preserved for thousands of years to shocking new mummy discoveries, these ancient Egypt secrets will blow your mind. Up first is the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone was one of the single most important archaeological discoveries ever made in human history, and the single most important discovery when it comes to the ancient Egyptian world. The Rosetta Stone is an obelisk inscribed with a royal decree from King Ptolemy V. The decree was for all citizens of Egypt, and given Egypt was an expansive empire with numerous different dialects and languages, it was written in 3 different scripts. The top has Egyptian hieroglyphics, while the middle has the slightly later Demotic script, which is also an Egyptian language but with letters instead of glyphs. Finally, the base is written in Old Greek. Each script was written in almost the exact same way, meaning the text was the first discovered that allowed modern knowledge of ancient Greek to lead to actual translations of both Demotic and hieroglyphic. Without this discovery, we would have no idea how to read thousands of other documents and texts, and it's allowed scientists and researchers to actually translate the discovered writings on sarcophagi, tombs, papyrus, and much more. It's difficult to imagine just how different our knowledge of ancient Egypt and Greece would be without our knowledge of the Rosetta Stone. Next is the Khufu ship. The Khufu ship was discovered in the grave of Pharaoh Khufu and is the oldest known ship ever discovered. Not only is it incredibly old and filled with unfathomably valuable grave goods, the Khufu ship is also in incredibly good condition. It's a style called a solar barge, allegedly the very ship design which the sun god Ra sails, and it's in such insanely good condition that this 5,000-year-old ship could be dropped in a river or lake today and would sail as well as it did 5,000 years ago. It's so well preserved, even the rope survived the sands of time, and numerous traditional ancient Egyptian rope tying techniques were gleaned from the boat. It's considered a masterwork of woodcraft and shipbuilding, and elevates our opinion of the engineering ability of the ancient Egyptians greatly. It was made of Lebanese cedar, the same as the tree on the current Lebanese flag. Next is the Unknown Queen. In 2022, archaeologists working near Saqqara quite literally rewrote history when they discovered a brand new tomb while excavating King Tut's tomb. Saqqara is a massive necropolis, a city of the deceased, where hundreds of thousands of remains and burials were conducted. They uncovered 300 more coffins and over 100 more mummies, but even greater, they discovered a brand new Egyptian queen, literally never before heard of in the historical record, Queen Neith. Neith was undoubtedly powerful and respected, judging by her ornate casket and the tomb she was placed in, but to discover an Egyptian queen entirely unrecorded in the historical record is a truly fantastic and mind-blowing discovery, and opens up numerous doors for more Egyptologists and researchers to investigate. The tomb was also likely built in the New Kingdom period, which is over 3,000 years ago and is considered highly unique for an area better known for Old Kingdom period tombs. The tomb also includes a mummy with a solid gold face mask, gaming pieces for the game's Senate, a huge limestone sarcophagus, and a soldier buried with his bronze axe.
What you're looking at here is a massive 100-ton artifact, dubbed a black box, found in a cave system about 12 miles south of the Great Pyramid of Giza. This is just one of 24, and we still don't know exactly what these thousands of year-old boxes were built for. They're made of solid Aswan granite. Again, they're incredibly heavy, and it's not even clear how these things were carved and transported. The engineering is remarkable too. These things are smooth as tabletops on the inside and outside. They also have hieroglyphics carved into them. Question has always been though, how were these incredibly heavy slabs of stone transported from rock quarries to their current location? Just another unsolved mystery of ancient Egypt. Back in 2020, archaeologists made a huge find in a necropolis south of Cairo. They uncovered dozens of ancient coffins. Khalid El-Anani, Egypt's antiquities minister at the time, said that at least 59 sealed sarcophagi were discovered, most containing mummies, buried over 2,600 years ago in 3 wells. The discovery was announced at the iconic step pyramid of Djoser in Saqqara, where the coffins were displayed. At the event, one sarcophagus was opened in front of reporters. Saqqara is home to at least 11 pyramids, and a number of tombs from different eras. And these recently found coffins belong to priests, top officials, and elites. Among the finds were 28 statues of Ptah and a bronze statue of the god Nefertari, inscribed with the name of its owner, a priest named Babi Amun. Alright, this next one's actually pretty entertaining. Just a little reminder that people never really change. Recent findings reveal that ancient Egyptians had a very unique way of tracking employee time off. A limestone tablet known as an ostrakon, housed in the British Museum and dating back to 1250 BCE, gives us a glimpse into the work-life balance of ancient Egyptians. This tablet lists 40 workers and details the days they missed, along with reasons given like illness and family duties. The absences are organized by season and date. For instance, on month 4, winter day 24, a worker named Pendub missed his shift because his mother wasn't feeling well and he had to take care of her. Of course, a lot of workers took off work because they were sick or injured. One name that's listed is Hainafer, who had eye troubles. There's also Seba, who was bitten by a scorpion. And another reason for not coming into work was brewing beer. This actually shows up a number of times. Beer was a staple drink in Egypt and was actually considered a meal. Anyway, just goes to show that people struggled with their work-life balance just like we do today. Although I don't think calling into work because you're brewing beer is gonna go over very well today. What you're looking at here is Pharaoh Khufu's sarcophagus. It may not look like much, but it's actually an incredibly impressive piece of engineering. It was made from a single piece of granite weighing about 3.75 tons. It's so large that it couldn't have been brought into the burial chamber after the pyramid was completed, so it had to have been placed there during the pyramid's construction. And what makes this sarcophagus even more impressive is that it was hollowed out from the inside, and it has holes that look like they were made with some kind of drill. So the question is, how did people in ancient times with what we think were primitive tools manage to create something like this? The effort and skill needed to make Khufu's coffin, like so many other constructions from ancient Egypt, just seems very ahead of its time. In 2015, something unusual was detected at the Great Pyramid using thermal cameras. Researchers found higher temperatures in 3 stones at the bottom of the pyramid. The Egyptian Antiquities Ministry had a few possible explanations for these heat spots. You figured they could be empty spaces within the pyramid, internal air currents, or just variations in the building materials that were used. Of course, there were also fun theories that the heat was being given off by ancient technology buried deep beneath the pyramids. Experts had been actively searching for hidden chambers in the pyramids. A team of architects and scientists from Egypt, France, Canada, and Japan conducted the thermal survey using sunrise and sunset. So they took advantage of the temperature changes as the sun heated the limestone and then allowed it to cool down. The ministry found that there were these thermal anomalies during their observations. One heat spot was found on the eastern side of the Great Pyramid. The stones there showed a distinct difference in temperature compared to others, hinting at something beneath the surface. This discovery was what eventually led to the Operation Scan Pyramids project, where they found that hidden corridor in the Pyramid of Giza that I mentioned earlier. We've talked about an incredible discovery archaeologist Kathleen Martinez made a couple years back, the possible location of Cleopatra's tomb. Well, I have an update on this, but before we get into that, here's a recap. Kathleen Martinez has been searching for Cleopatra's tomb since 2005, and in 2022 she started getting onto something big. She believed she may have finally discovered the tunnel that leads to it. The tunnel was found beneath the temple ruins of Taposiris Magna, a site built around 280 BCE that's dedicated to the gods Osiris and Isis. The tunnel sits about 42.5 feet underground, carved into the sandstone, but parts of this tunnel have been submerged in water, of course making it a bit more of a challenge to explore. At Taposiris Magna, the archaeological team has already uncovered some fascinating artifacts, sculptures of Isis, coins featuring Cleopatra and Alexander the Great, and even an entire burial ground filled with mummies. But the next step was for the team to, of course, investigate the nearby Mediterranean Sea, where part of the tunnel is submerged. But let's get on to this update. Martinez needed permission from the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities to carry out the next step of her investigation, but she needed a specific artifact to back up her theory that this temple was dedicated to the goddess Isis, a goddess Cleopatra famously claimed to be the reincarnation of. The item she was looking for is called a foundation plate, inscribed with important details about when and why the temple was built. Archaeological missions had been searching for this plate since the 1800s, but they all came up empty-handed. That is until Dr. Martinez. She found the foundation plate she was looking for, which reads, "The king of high and low Egypt, Ptolemy V lives forever, beloved by Isis." This plate finally proved that the temple was indeed dedicated to the goddess. Now, to help with her underwater search, she reached out to Robert Ballard, the diver who found the Titanic, and now with the support from the Egyptian government, her expedition was a go. During their exploration in submerged Alexandria, the team found structures standing 3 meters tall, and they did not look like natural formations. They also uncovered basalt, the same material used in statues from the first temple, confirming these structures were made by humans. More than 5 other points of interest were also identified and are set to be excavated in the next permit season, some even 10 kilometers out from the coast. Dr. Martinez is convinced that if Alexandria is underwater, then Cleopatra's temple may be as well. There will definitely be more updates to come. The Valley of the Golden Mummies is an amazing burial site found in Egypt's western desert. It dates back to the Greco-Roman period and was discovered in 1996 by archaeologist Zahi Hawass and his team. They uncovered around 250 mummies over several seasons, but Hawass later estimated that there could be more than 10,000 mummies buried in this area. When the team first found these mummies, many were in surprisingly good condition too. They had a variety of decorating styles, but the researchers identified 4 main ones. The first style featured a gilded mask covering the face, along with a gilded waistcoat that depicted different gods and goddesses. About 60 of the mummies were adorned like this. The second style was covered with courtenage, which is a type of material made from layers of linen and plaster. These mummies displayed scenes of gods, including Anubis, who is known as the god of the dead. The third style didn't have any gold or fancy decorations, but was instead placed inside a pottery coffin shaped like a person, known as an anthropoid. The fourth style was simply wrapped in linen. Each mummy was buried with a number of artifacts like jewelry, pottery for food, wine jars, and coins. This next story is, it's always been one of my favorites. It sounds completely made up. It's gonna sound like the Egyptian version of the Goonies, but this is actually a real thing that happened, and yeah, I just love this news story. So the media didn't release the guy's full name. He was simply referred to as Nagy. But Nagy was digging in his backyard one day in 2015 when he stumbled on this tunnel. Now, before I even say where the tunnel leads, let me just say, finding a tunnel in your backyard would just be incredibly cool no matter what. Like, I'd be calling my friends over, we'd be getting an adventure going, I'd buy an Indiana Jones hat, whole 9 yards, but let's get to where this tunnel actually led. The tunnel, right in this guy's backyard, led to Khufu Pyramid, one of the 3 pyramids that make up the Giza Pyramid complex. It's also one of the largest and oldest. Now, how insane is that? First of all, why was he digging? Who just goes digging in their backyard? If I was digging in my backyard, I'd find some worms. Probably that would be about it. This guy randomly decides to dig one day and finds a tunnel leading to the Great Pyramid. He does live in Egypt, but still, what are the chances of this? The tunnel was about 33 feet beneath his house and is made of stone blocks. Now, he didn't go into this tunnel and make his way to the Great Pyramid and find this out for himself. That would have been way cooler, but probably not the best idea to just go into an unknown tunnel buried in your backyard. Instead, he contacted authorities and archaeologists were sent to his yard who made the discovery. And what's even crazier is that this tunnel was actually something archaeologists have been seeking out for a long time. It was written about, but had never actually been found until then.
In our number 5 spot today, we have the lost tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Somewhere along the sun-soaked shores near Alexandria, or hidden beneath the ancient ruins of Taposiris Magna, lies the elusive tomb of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, cloaked in legend and intrigue. As Egypt's last pharaoh and her Roman lover, their dramatic love story ended in tragedy, and their final resting place has become one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. Archaeologists have been chasing whispers and deciphering clues from ancient texts, believing that uncovering this tomb could reveal artifacts of immense historical significance, perhaps even scrolls penned by Cleopatra herself. Some speculate the tomb could be an underground palace filled with treasures that surpass even those in King Tut's burial chamber. The very idea that beneath the shifting sands lies a sealed crypt holding the final secrets of these iconic lovers keeps the world watching Egypt with bated breath. Could the next spade of Earth finally unveil the hidden chapter of this epic saga? In our number 4 spot today, we have the tomb of Alexander the Great. Beneath the vibrant streets of modern Alexandria, whispers of a hidden tomb ignite the imaginations of archaeologists and treasure hunters. The lost resting place of Alexander the Great. After his death, it's said his body was brought back to Egypt, a land he admired and where he was proclaimed a pharaoh. Over centuries, the exact location of his tomb has been swallowed by time, earthquakes, and rising sea levels. Some speculate it could be concealed beneath ancient ruins or submerged under the harbor, waiting to unveil secrets of the Hellenistic era. Finding this tomb wouldn't just be an archaeological coup, it could potentially unearth artifacts or writings that reshape our understanding of history. The allure of unlocking such a monumental mystery keeps the world watching as each passing year holds the tantalizing possibility that Alexander's legendary tomb might finally be found. In our number 3 spot today, we have the underground chambers beneath the Sphinx. Deep beneath the stoic visage of the Great Sphinx on the Giza Plateau, tales of hidden chambers and secret tunnels abound. For centuries, locals and adventurers have whispered about what might lie beneath this ancient guardian of the pyramids. Geological surveys have revealed anomalies, unexplained voids and cavities that suggest the possibility of underground rooms or passageways. Some believe these spaces could house lost treasures or ancient texts detailing the mysteries of the pharaohs. Others speculate about connections to the mythical Hall of Records, a legendary repository of wisdom from a bygone era. The risk of damaging the Sphinx has kept these secrets locked away, as no confirmed entrances have been found to explore them. The allure of what might be concealed beneath these colossal paws continues to captivate the world. Could unlocking these chambers alter our understanding of history itself? In our number 2 spot today, we have the burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Hidden somewhere within the winding corridors and secret chambers of the Valley of the Kings lies one of Egypt's most enduring mysteries, the lost burial chamber of Pharaoh Amenhotep I. Despite decades of tireless excavation and exploration, archaeologists have yet to uncover his final resting place. This pharaoh ruled during a transformative period of the 18th dynasty, and his untouched tomb could be a gold mine of ancient treasures and forgotten texts. Some believe it might contain scrolls that detail the earliest practices of mummification, or even maps to other undiscovered tombs. There's talk of hidden passageways sealed by elaborate traps designed to protect his legacy from tomb robbers of the past and the present. The allure of finding Amenhotep I's tomb isn't just about unearthing riches, it's about unlocking a pivotal chapter in Egyptian history that could redefine what we know about this ancient civilization. Could the next strike of the pickaxe finally reveal the secrets that have been buried for a millennia? And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the unopened tombs in the Valley of the Kings. Deep within the sun-baked cliffs of the Valley of the Kings in Luxor, several mysterious tombs lie untouched, sealed since ancient times. Detected by modern technology like ground-penetrating radar, these hidden chambers remain inaccessible due to unstable rock formations and the challenges they pose. Some archaeologists speculate that these tombs could belong to lesser-known pharaohs or influential nobles whose names have been lost to history. Others whisper about the possibility of secret cults or even undiscovered dynasties concealed within. The allure is irresistible. What if if these unopened tombs house untold treasures, sacred artifacts, or scrolls that could rewrite our understanding of Egyptian civilization. Each day, the desert sands shift slightly as if guarding these secrets a little longer. The anticipation builds. Could the next archaeological breakthrough finally unlock these silent chambers and the mysteries that they hold?
This guy paraglided over the Egyptian pyramids. Take a look at this. Just earlier this month, a 35-year-old paramotor pilot named Yanis Terzis flew over some famous Egyptian landmarks, including the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx. It's incredibly breathtaking footage, and I am incredibly jealous of this man. At one point, he got up close enough to see the symbols etched onto the top. That is incredible. That's a part of the pyramids we never get to see. I didn't even know there was stuff written on the top until today. As Terzis stated, most of the paramotor pilots fly high for safety precautions. Sometimes I like to get a little bit risky on my flights and go close to the ground and over the building to get amazing shots and videos. And an amazing video he got. He also went on to say, on the pyramid flight, I had the intention of touching my foot tip over the pyramids. That was something unique that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life.
وأحب أن أؤكد أننا مستمرين في العمل.
That was Ahmed Issa, the Egyptian Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, talking about a discovery that had just been made in the Great Pyramid of Giza, a hidden corridor that had been sealed off for thousands of years. Using advanced scanning technology, researchers revealed a hidden corridor that measures about 9 meters long and 2 meters wide. This corridor is located on the northern side of the pyramid, just above the main entrance, and it's sealed off, meaning it can't be accessed from the outside. It's believed to date back about 4,500 years. The discovery was announced by Ahmed Issa and the famous Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass during a ceremony held at the pyramid. The Scan Pyramids project, which uses cutting-edge scanning methods to explore unexplored areas of the pyramids, was responsible for uncovering this chamber. Experts from France, Japan, Germany, and Canada collaborated on this project using 5 non-invasive techniques to analyze the structure without disturbing it. Still waiting for an update on this story. At this point, we still don't know what was actually hidden in the corridor, if anything, and we don't really know what it was used for, but they're still looking into it. Hopefully we'll get an update soon. Just back in May, a team of researchers from Japan and Egypt uncovered what they're calling an underground anomaly while studying the area beneath the Western Cemetery of the Giza Pyramid Complex. The Western Cemetery, which is located close to the Great Pyramid, contains a bunch of mastabas, which are rectangular tombs made of limestone or mud. But one section of the cemetery has been largely untouched, a flat area without any visible structures. Curious about what might be buried there, the research team used ground-penetrating radar and electrical resuscitivity tomography, or ERT, to scan the ground. And they noticed this odd density under the surface, as if something man-made had been buried below. The researchers identified 2 distinct underground structures, one shallow and one deep. The shallow structure is L-shaped, just under 2 meters deep. The deeper structure is even more mysterious. The team is seeking to excavate the site to find out what these structures are. Who knows what they'll find down there? All I know is I am impatiently waiting. The biggest mystery about the pyramids, and really one of the biggest mysteries in the world, is how they were built. There have been some interesting theories over the years, but just back in May, scientists made a huge breakthrough. A research team from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington, thinks they've found clues to a long-lost branch of the River Nile, now buried beneath desert and farmland. A river that might have played a big role in transporting material for the pyramids. For years, archaeologists have suspected that the ancient Egyptians used a nearby waterway for transporting heavy stone blocks, but they didn't really know where this river could have been. To uncover the mystery, the research team combined radar, satellite imagery, historical maps, geophysical surveys, and sediment coring to create this detailed map of the river branch. The area is thought to have been buried by a major drought and sandstorms thousands of years ago. Radar technology allowed the researchers to penetrate the sand surface and produce images of hidden features, revealing revealing buried rivers and ancient structures near where many pyramids are located. The river branch, dubbed the Aramat branch, Aramat meaning pyramids in Arabic, was found to border 31 pyramids built between 4700 and 3700 years ago. This means that the river was likely used to help transport material for the pyramids. Dr. Suzanne Onstein, a co-author of the study, stated that locating the actual river branch and having the data that shows there was a waterway that could be used for the transportation of heavier blocks, equipment, people, everything, really helps us explain pyramid construction. She went on to explain that the river would have allowed the ancient Egyptians to, quote, use the river's energy to carry these heavy blocks rather than human labor. Back in September of 2023, a bunch of hidden chambers were found in an ancient Egyptian pyramid. This pyramid, built around 4,400 years ago for Pharaoh Sarkor, is located in the Abusir necropolis in northern Egypt. The pyramid has been undergoing restoration since 2019 to stabilize it and clean out its interiors. And as workers were clearing away debris from a collapsed corridor, they stumbled on these hidden chambers. The spaces were likely storage rooms, which might not sound as thrilling as finding a hidden treasure, but they're important for understanding how the pyramid was designed and used. The pyramid's tunnels have been blocked since its first excavation in 1836, and now, almost 2 centuries later, researchers had access to areas that have been hidden for ages.
Next is the Gizan Chamber. In March of 2023, a truly incredible discovery was made that flipped the archaeological community on its head. The Great Pyramid of Giza, which has been standing for thousands of years and studied for hundreds, still somehow has new discoveries to reveal to us. Using advanced ultrasound techniques and infrared thermography, a new team of researchers were able to locate and identify a mysterious hidden chamber. Now, no one's been inside, only identified it through scientific means, and we really don't know what the chamber is meant to be for. Some have said it's some sort of ritual room, perhaps a place for sacrifices or curses, or maybe it's a storage closet for the workers who built the pyramid that was bricked up when they were done. Researchers are fairly certain that the room takes significant weight off of the entryway and may be a sort of internal structural arch designed to reduce weight and spread out the strain so the entrance doesn't collapse. It's believed these techniques were perfected on previous pyramids, but we still have no idea what this enclosed and hidden chamber could possibly be for. Knowing the ancient Egyptians, it's almost impossible that it holds no spiritual, religious, or cultural meaning whatsoever. And yet, there does not seem to be any way inside. Maybe it's a waiting room for the spirits of the dead. Next is the Golden Tongue. At the Taposiris Magna Temple, researchers made a fascinating discovery, finding several poorly preserved mummies with a shocking item: a golden tongue placed inside the skull. The ancient Egyptians believed a golden tongue was required to be able to speak to Osiris in the afterlife, but it was long considered a myth by many that they would actually place gold tongues into the mummies' mouths. This is no gold leaf either, but a solid gold tongue left inside of the mummies. There were numerous other artifacts and quite a bit of gold as well, but the mummies were in a shockingly poor state. They were very badly preserved and almost entirely broken down, something which is very unusual given that the Egyptians had mastered the art of mummification several decades before this tomb was filled with the deceased. It may be possible that the family didn't have the money to pay for the full embalming, but could spare enough for the gold for the tongue. However, it does still leave a mystery. These people were obviously well loved and well off given the amount of things they had to accompany them, so maybe they just had a bad embalmer. Next are mysterious mummies. Egypt is revered in the scientific community for 2 big things: cool new dinosaur species, and a whole crapload of mummies. The Saqqara necropolis is one of the largest necropolises on Earth and has been the home of several tens of thousands of mummies, both human and otherwise. Recently, however, Saqqara was the site of another mummy discovery, this time of several mummified cats, snakes, and crocodiles. That's not all though. There were also mummified birds and even a mummified beetle, about 4 times larger than it should have been. Maybe someone saw a massive beetle and thought, wow, this is incredible, we should really preserve this for the future generations. And hopefully everybody around them said, you're weird, dude. There were also 75 bronze cat statues, really not dodging the weird accusations. Cats were deeply important to the ancient Egyptians, not only because they dealt with pests and prevented disease, but also because they were seen as almost godlike, and as a proud personal servant of a cat, I can totally see where they're coming from. Several dozen mummified house cats were discovered alongside 5 mummified big cats, at least one of which is a lion. It's likely these were offerings or idols of some sort, allowing the living to closer connect to the realm of the gods and the dead. And finally is the Falcon Shrine. The port of Berenike was a critical one for the ancient Egyptians, and so continues to be searched and excavated in search of strange and wondrous things. And boy oh boy is this strange, at least. Archaeologists discovered a shrine filled with some of the most unusual items ever discovered. First and most shocking were the 15 headless falcons. Why were the falcons headless? Why were there so many? We don't know, but that's not all. The falcons were arrayed on a dais before a stone pedestal holding 3 stone statues of gods. One was the child god Harpocrates, another has a falcon head but has not been quite identified, and the last has also not been identified but has cow horns and a solar disc. It's believed the falcons were offerings to the gods alongside some other remains that suggest sacrifice and feasting took place in this small temple. There was an iron harpoon also laid out alongside the falcons, but the final piece may be the most unusual. A large stela that reads, in ancient Greek, "It is improper to boil a head here." So at least we know the falcon heads weren't boiled, but we know very, very little else about this religious group. The temple dates from after the 4th century AD, meaning Christianity was already the dominant religion in the Roman Empire, and yet this small cult or temple continued to survive, showing that the ancient Egyptians did not just trade over to Christianity, but that the old gods survived for longer in worship than we initially believed.
Now, this may not look like much, but what if I told you it was made thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago? This is the Sabu disc, a very strange ancient Egyptian artifact believed to date back to around 3000 to 2800 BCE. It was discovered in 1936 in the Saqqara necropolis, specifically in the tomb of an official named Sabu, which is how it got its name. This disc is made from schist, a type of stone known for its durability, and as you can see, it has a unique design for the time. It looks very modern, like a broken piece of machinery or something. Some researchers think it could have been some sort of ceremonial object, given the fact that it was found in a tomb. Others think that it might have had a more practical function. But the advanced design of this thing might mean it could have belonged to a more sophisticated technology that's just been lost to time. And did the Egyptians even build it themselves, or was there some extraterrestrial influence? Could the ancient Egyptians have been in contact with advanced beings from another planet? Well, that's pretty much what this whole video is about. The Abydos carvings found in the ancient temple of Seti I and Abydos seem to depict this mix of traditional hieroglyphs with some seriously strange images. When you look closely, you might notice that some of these carvings look a lot like modern vehicles, like a helicopter, a submarine, a jet plane. One of the things looks a lot like the land speeder from Star Wars to me, and to a lot of other people online. The sort of eerie resemblance to things we see today, excluding the land speeder, unfortunately, has led to some wild theories. One of the most popular ideas is that these carvings were depictions of some of the ancient Egyptians' advanced technology, possibly thanks to extraterrestrial visitors. Imagine aliens coming to Earth thousands and thousands of years ago and sharing their tech with Egyptians. It's just a fun idea. And if that is true, we also gotta ask, who were these people? Or I guess, what were these people or things? Were they from another planet? Or could they maybe have been time travelers from our future? Take a look at this odd coin. What historical politician is that supposed to be exactly? Looks a lot like an alien to me. So there's been this story circulating online about this collection of coins found in Egypt that seem to depict aliens. The coins apparently date back to the 1st century BCE and feature a humanoid figure with large eyes, a tiny mouth, bald head, your classic gray. There are also coins with your typical flying saucer carved into them. The coins were supposedly discovered by a group of construction workers who were renovating a house in southern Egypt. Now, while digging in the basement, they stumbled on a small box filled with these coins, all in surprisingly good condition. After the find, the coins were taken to a local museum for further examination. Archaeologists dated the coins and concluded that they were likely minted in Egypt. Now, are these coins evidence of ancient alien contact? Did the ancient Egyptians carve their extraterrestrial visitors into their money? Well, sure, there are some spooky artifacts and mysteries surrounding ancient Egypt, but these coins are hoaxes. At least I'm 99.9% sure. I don't know. There's always that small chance though. Well, this is an odd looking creature, isn't it? On March 21st of 2016, a post on the website Worldwide Science Stories claimed that archaeologists had discovered a quote alien mummy inside an Egyptian pyramid. The story came from sources who wanted to remain anonymous. According to the report, the mummy was found by archaeologists near Lahoun while exploring a small pyramid linked to the 12th dynasty of Senusret II. This alleged alien mummy was said to be between 150 and 160 centimeters long, supposedly dating back over 2,000 years. Now, apparently the details about this mysterious find weren't disclosed right away. And again, a source from the Egyptian Department of Antiquities confirmed the discovery but insisted on remaining unnamed. Now, it's an odd looking mummy, definitely looks like your classic alien to me, the large oval shaped eyes, the small slit for a mouth, very reptilian, and apparently inscriptions found near the tomb referred to the creature as Osserunet, a name interpreted to mean star or sent from heaven. Now, this is a pretty controversial story, as you can probably imagine. A lot of people think this one is a hoax, but it isn't the only strange looking mummy found in ancient Egypt. There have been lots, so is it possible that there are other ones that have just been covered up? Who knows? The Tuli papyrus is a really cool find. The story starts back in 1933 when Alberto Tuli, who is a curator at the Vatican Museums, discovered a roll of papyrus in Cairo. This document is said to date back to the time of Pharaoh Thutmose III around 1480 BCE. But here's where it gets really strange. After Tuli passed away, this scroll just vanished without a trace, and years later an Italian Egyptologist named Boris de Rechewaltz claimed he'd found a transcription of the Tuli papyrus, and according to his translation, the text tells an incredible story about a day when a large disc appeared in the sky. This disc was about 164 feet long and 16.5 feet wide and gave off a really awful smell. Then more discs kept appearing, shining brighter than the sun. The pharaoh ordered incense offerings to appease the Egyptian god Amun-Ra and commanded that the event be recorded for future generations. Thus, we now have the Tuli papyrus.
In our number 5 spot today, we have nomarchs. Another problem that really contributed to the fall of the Old Kingdom and the introduction into this more difficult period of time was the rise in power of provincial nomarchs. A nomarch was a provincial governor in ancient Egypt. Since the country was divided into 42 different provinces, which were called nomes, there would be a government official that was responsible for each one. Nearing the beginning of the first intermediate period, the position of nomarch had become a hereditary one, which of course meant that one family was likely to hold the position and the power for quite some time. This of course meant that these families, with every year, would only get more powerful and more influential within their nome, which left them becoming more independent from their overall ruler. These nomarchs were beginning to have their own tombs built, and they began putting together their own armies, and of course, this went on to create conflict with those surrounding them. This not only created tensions, but it created warfare. In our number 4 spot today, we have division. Once things kind of settled from the chaos of the fall of the Old Kingdom and the bizarrities of the 7th and 8th dynasties, it was realized that Egypt was now kind of divided when it came to ruling, as there were two competing power bases. One of those bases was at Heracleopolis, which was located in Lower Egypt, and the other was at Thebes in Upper Egypt. Those in Lower Egypt had their rule for approximately 94 years, and their kings comprised the 9th and 10th dynasties, each with 19 rulers. The founder of the 9th dynasty, Kheti I, is often described as quite an evil and violent ruler who caused a lot of harm to those living in Egypt at the time. It is said that he was, quote, seized with madness, which I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it is likely hinting towards some sort of mental health issue. In the end, it is said that he met his demise at the hands of a crocodile, which, I mean, leaves me with a lot of questions. In our number 3 spot today, we have the buffer zone. Within the Heracleopolitan Kingdom, there was a powerful and wealthy province of Siut, or Asiut, which really rose to prominence during this otherwise difficult time. A new line of nomarchs began to rise out of this area, and they maintained quite a close relationship with the kings of Lower Egypt. We were able to discover this through what was inscribed on their tombs. These inscriptions provided a look into what the political situations were like during their reigns, and it describes this line of nomarchs as digging canals, reducing taxation, reaping rich harvests, raising cattle herds, and maintaining an army and fleet. Again, we are talking about a time that is referred to as the Dark Ages, so this sort of success was a big deal. Despite this thriving political situation, the Siut province acted as a sort of buffer zone between the dueling Upper and Lower Egypt, which means that it also bore a lot of the brunt of the attacks that were coming down to Lower Egypt from Thebes. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Upper Egypt rulers. We spoke briefly about those who were ruling Lower Egypt at the time, so what about Upper Egypt? Well, the Theban kings are said to have been descendants of Intef, who is the nomarch of Thebes, often referred to as the keeper of the door to the south. Intef is often credited with organizing Upper Egypt into the independent ruling body from the south that it went on to become, but despite this, it doesn't appear as though he ever tried to claim the title of king himself. Intef II began the attack of northern Egypt, and his successor Intef III completed that attack, which then left him to begin the move into Middle Egypt and the attack on Lower Egypt. The first 3 kings of the 11th dynasty, all named Intef, would also become the last 3 kings of the first intermediate period. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Middle Kingdom. With all of the political chaos that was going on and with the competition for power, this resulted in a lot of violence. Prior to the military conflict, it is said that temples were pillaged, artwork was vandalized, and statues of different kings were destroyed. After the reign of the Intefs, they were succeeded by a line of kings who were called Mentuhotep. The second in this line is the ruler who would go on to eventually defeat the kings and rulers of Lower Egypt, those in the Heracleopolitan kingdom. This is important because it marked a new shift in ancient Egypt. This defeat marked the unification of the country, the continuation of the 11th dynasty, and it brought Egypt into the time of the Middle Kingdom. Starting this list off today in our number 10 spot, we have the tomb of Herahor. Amidst the towering columns and sacred halls of the Karnak temple complex, the elusive tomb of Herahor continues to captivate historians. Herahor was no ordinary figure. Originally a high priest of the Amen, he boldly declared himself pharaoh during Egypt's tumultuous Third Intermediate Period. Yet, despite his audacious rise to power, little evidence of his burial site has ever been found. Some speculate that his tomb could be hidden within a secret chamber of Karnak itself, filled with treasures and inscriptions that chronicle a time of political intrigue and religious upheaval. Others wonder if his final resting place was deliberately concealed to protect his legacy from rivals. The discovery of Herahor's tomb could unlock a treasure trove of artifacts and scrolls, shedding light on a shadowy chapter of Egyptian history. As each new expedition delves into the ancient ruins, the possibility of unearthing this lost tomb adds a layer of excitement and mystery. Could the next turn of a dusty corridor finally reveal the secrets of the self-made pharaoh who dared to redefine his destiny? In our number 9 spot today, we have the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara. Hidden beneath the sands near the Fayum oasis, the lost labyrinth of Egypt at Hawara remains one of the most tantalizing mysteries of the ancient world. Described by historians like Herodotus as a colossal underground complex with thousands of rooms and winding passages, it's said to have rivaled even the grandeur of the pyramids. While archaeologists have uncovered some remnants that hint at its existence, the labyrinth itself remains largely unexplored and unopened. Legends speak of vast halls adorned with hieroglyphs that could unlock secrets of forgotten dynasties, or perhaps even chambers guarding untold treasures and mystical artifacts. Some theories suggest it was designed as a giant puzzle intended to protect sacred knowledge from falling into the wrong hands. The mere thought that such an architectural marvel lies waiting to be rediscovered definitely ignites the imagination. Could the lost labyrinth be the key to unraveling mysteries that have eluded us for millennia? In our number 8 spot today, we have the Big Void in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Hidden within the towering limestone blocks of the Great Pyramid of Giza, there is a massive unexplored cavity known as the Big Void. Discovered in 2017 through the innovated use of muon radiography, a technique that detects particles from cosmic rays, the void sits mysteriously above the Grand Gallery. Its sheer size suggests it wasn't an accidental space or a simple architectural flaw. Could it be a secret chamber built to house untold treasures or sacred texts from a bygone bygone era. Some speculate it might even be a concealed passageway designed to protect the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife. The lack of access points has kept this mystery sealed off from the world, fueling countless theories and a sense of wonder. As we stand on the brink of new technological breakthroughs, the possibility of uncovering what lies within the big void keeps the world eagerly watching Egypt's ancient sands. In our number 7 spot today, we have the hidden chambers of Tutankhamun's tomb. Nestled deep within the Valley of the Kings, Tutankhamun's tomb has dazzled the world ever since its discovery in 1922, but recent radar scans have reignited the excitement by hinting at hidden chambers adjacent to the young pharaoh's burial site. Some archaeologists speculate that these secret rooms could be the untouched resting place of Queen Nefertiti, one of ancient Egypt's most mysterious figures. The possibility of uncovering new treasures and untold stories has the archaeological community buzzing. Could these concealed chambers hold the key to mysteries that have puzzled historians for decades? As technology advances, the anticipation builds, and the sands of Egypt may yet reveal more of their timeless secrets. In our number 6 spot today, we have the tomb of Imhotep. Deep within the ancient sands of Saqqara lies one of Egypt's most captivating mysteries, the undiscovered tomb of Imhotep. Known as the brilliant architect who designed the Step Pyramid, the world's first colossal stone structure, Imhotep was so revered that he was deified after death, a rare honor bestowed upon few mortals. Yet, despite his monumental impact on history, his burial site has never been found. Archaeologists speculate that unearthing his tomb could reveal groundbreaking insights into Old Kingdom Egypt, possibly containing ancient scrolls detailing the origins of pyramid construction or medicinal texts that predate modern knowledge. Some even whisper about hidden chambers filled with artifacts that could rewrite everything we know about ancient engineering. The quest to find his tomb isn't just about locating a lost grave, it's a race to uncover secrets that have been buried for over 4 millennia.
In 2011, archaeologists in the ancient capital city of Abydos discovered a series of severed hands buried in the ground. The 12 severed hands dated back to around 1500 BCE and were found in pits just outside the walls of a palace. In one pit, 8 hands were found grouped together, while the others were in a nearby pit only about 3 feet away. Interestingly, both pits would have been visible from the throne room of the palace, meaning they might have been very important trophies for the rulers. Researcher Julia Greski from the German Archaeological Institute noted that Egyptian texts mention a practice called gold of honor. This involved presenting the hands of slain enemies to the pharaoh in exchange for gold jewelry, like necklaces or pendants. Interestingly, there were no cut marks on these bones. They'd been removed very carefully, possibly as part of a ritual. The tendons that connected the hands to the arms were likely severed after death and after rigor mortis had passed. But why take your enemy's hands as trophies? Well, hands were very symbolically important to the ancient Egyptians, representing power and agency. On top of that, without your hands, you can't really wield a weapon, so I guess it makes sense. According to ancient Egyptian beliefs, losing a hand would prevent you from entering the afterlife as well. So considering that, hands would have been pretty significant war trophies. The catacombs of shokafa just look incredible. I would absolutely love to explore this place. Looks like something straight out of Zelda. They're actually considered one of these 7 wonders of the Middle Ages. It's a necropolis made up of a series of tombs, statues, and artifacts with a blend of Egyptian, Greek, and Roman influence. Discovered in 1900, a donkey accidentally fell into the shaft, and that's how this place was found. That's crazy. These catacombs date back to the 2nd century CE, during the age of the Antonine emperors. They were used as burial chambers from the 2nd to the 4th centuries. The catacombs are made up of 3 levels that were tunneled into solid rock. The 3rd level was completely underwater until more recent restorations. And inside the catacombs is a funeral banquet hall where family and friends would have gathered on stone couches during burials. The name shokafa means mound of shards, and it comes from the many broken pottery shards found in the area. Visitors would bring food and wine to the tombs, and instead of carrying the empty jars back home, they'd break them and leave the pieces behind. When this site was discovered, heaps of these broken plates were found. Among all the fascinating finds is the Hall of Caracalla, which contains the bones of horses that were buried there for Emperor Caracalla in 215 CE. As I mentioned before, there's this blend of styles here. On the walls of the catacombs are carvings, some blending in Greek and Roman influences. For example, there are scenes depicting the Egyptian god Anubis, but dressed in Roman-style clothing. The tomb chamber features 3 massive stone sarcophagi, which are super intricate. I mean, it just looks like the type of place you could spend years exploring, and you'd always find something new to look at. The tomb of Nefertari is a beautiful burial site in Egypt's Valley of the Queens. It was discovered in 1904 by Ernesto Schiaparelli, who is the director of the Egyptian Museum in Turin. Nefertari, whose name means beautiful companion, was the favorite wife of Pharaoh Ramses II, and he made sure everyone knew it. He called her the one for whom the sun shines, and even built a temple in her honor. The paintings in the tomb reveal a lot about Nefertari's life and the Egyptian beliefs surrounding death. One famous image shows her playing a game called Senet, showing the importance of games in her culture. There's also a scene of her meeting Thoth, the god of writing, meaning she may have been literate. The wall art also shows scenes from the Book of the Dead detailing rituals and tests Nefertari would face in the afterlife. After this discovery, it became clear that the tomb had suffered from looting, unfortunately. The treasures, including Nefertari's sarcophagus and mummy, were gone, but remnants of her knees were found, oddly enough, and about 2/3 of its wall paintings still remain, fortunately. The tomb has also suffered water damage, unfortunately, and mold thanks to humidity. In 1986, there was a restoration project to preserve the paintings, and it was completed in 1992. Heracleion was an ancient Egyptian city that ended up at the bottom of the sea. It was located near the mouth of the Nile River and was one of the most important cities in ancient Egypt at one point, a thriving port city during the time of the pharaohs, a center for trade with Greece and other Mediterranean countries, and it played a big role in the Egyptian economy. The city was known for its grand temples, the statues dedicated to various gods and goddesses. We don't know exactly why it sank, but there were likely natural disasters like earthquakes and rising sea levels, which led to it gradually sinking underwater. For centuries, Thonis was lost and forgotten until underwater archaeologists rediscovered it in 2000, with divers finding well-preserved artifacts like statues, pottery, and religious objects.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the downfall. To start this list off, let's talk about one of the things that happened just before the transition into the first intermediate period of ancient Egypt. It is important to note some of the causes of the fall of the Old Kingdom, which is what brought forth this period of chaos and turmoil. One reason that is often cited is the extremely long reign of Pepe II, who was the last pharaoh of the 6th dynasty. His reign began while he was a child, and it is believed that he lived to possibly into his 90s, which, first of all, that's incredible. Imagine that guy with modern medicine and plumbing. I'm just saying. But, of course, while that's wild to see that long of a reign, especially back in those times, his lengthy life proved to cause some issues for succession because the guy outlived all of his heirs. Because of this sort of disorganization, it led to the regime of the Old Kingdom kind of being disintegrated. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Nile. The overflowing of the Nile was a very important time for ancient Egyptians. It is a super important cycle for them that was actually celebrated annually for 2 weeks. In the intermediate period, it is thought that the overflowing of the Nile, which really was necessary to their way of life, was lessened, or it may have potentially been non-existent for a period due to a drier climate, which is said to have potentially led ancient Egypt and its citizens into a terrible famine. The drier climate and the lack of the Nile inundation would have resulted in lower crop yields, which would have a significant impact on those living in the area at the time. In our number 8 spot today, we have disorganization. Sunken. Like I kind of mentioned in the first point, part of the reason this intermediate period is often referred to as the Dark Ages is due to the lack of organization within the kingdom. Manetho, who is a historian and priest from the Ptolemaic era, would describe 70 kings who ruled in 70 days. This is likely a bit sarcastic and an exaggeration, but it's meant to show how chaotic things were at the time in terms of leadership. This period of time can sometimes be overlooked in terms of leadership because there is very little known about who was actually leading during this time. It is possible that the 7th dynasty may have been more of an oligarchy, which would have likely been composed of officials of the 6th dynasty. There unfortunately is very little in terms of both textual as well as architectural evidence that survived this period, so much of what really went on remains a secret. In our number 7 spot today we have artifacts. During the time of the 7th and 8th dynasty, while it is true that we have little to go on, there have been a few interesting artifacts found that are believed to belong to this time period. There have been scarabs that have been found that are believed to have belonged to Nefertari II of the 7th dynasty. There was also a green jasper cylinder that is believed to have come from the 8th dynasty. There was even a small pyramid that was constructed by King Ebi of the 8th dynasty that has been identified at Saqqara. While we have found these things, there are some rulers from this time whose positions remain unknown to this day. It is entirely possible that we may never know where some of these rulers lie. In our number 6 spot today we have literature. While this entire period of time is incredibly interesting, one super cool thing is that the emergence of what is considered literature by our more modern standards seems to have occurred during this period of time. This led to the birth of new literary prowess in the Middle Kingdom, the age that came after this period. There is one specific piece that is very important historically, and that is the Ipuwer papyrus. Although this piece of literature is not dated to this period, it is widely believed that it is likely referring to this intermediate period, and it records the decline in both international relations as well as just the general impoverishment that was seen in ancient Egypt at the time.
Next, let's talk about Egyptian hieroglyphs in general and some of the odd places they've been spotted, like on crashed UFOs, for example. The infamous Roswell incident in 1947 and the Rendlesham Forest sightings in 1980 were both said to have strange symbols carved into the sides of the UFOs. Some witnesses claimed to see what looked like Egyptian hieroglyphs on the sides of both craft, incredibly strange, and the symbols discovered on the Roswell UFO are said to have matched the ones found on the Rendlesham object. One specific design is apparently a triangle with 2 spheres that appears on both. So why would UFOs have Egyptian-looking symbols etched into them? In the Dendera temple complex, there's a famous relief with an image dubbed the Dendera Light. The image depicts a snake emerging from a lotus flower, seemingly held up by a pillar with human arms at the end. But you gotta look more closely to see that. What's immediately obvious to us modern folks is that this looks a lot like a giant light bulb, specifically a Crookes tube, an early type of light bulb that was invented in the 19th century. There's a pretty uncanny resemblance, really, but is it just a coincidence? Or is this ancient artwork actually depicting a piece of advanced technology? Another interesting thing about this one, the specific room featuring the Dendera light is the only one in the entire temple with no evidence of fire-burning lamps. In every other part of the temple, archaeologists found residues from what looked to have been lamps, but not here. So if the room was completely dark, how did the ancient Egyptians light it up? And why would they go to the trouble of carving such an elaborate image if it was just going to be hidden in darkness? Well, maybe the room wasn't pitch black. Maybe they illuminated it with some other, more advanced method. The Saqqara bird is a cute little sculpture, but it's also led to some pretty interesting conversations. Discovered in an ancient Egyptian tomb near Saqqara, this wooden figure is around 2,200 years old. Now, at first glance, it looks like, a toy bird, but looking closer, and it also kind of looks like a model airplane. The wings look a lot more like a plane than a bird's wings. So it's got people wondering, did the ancient Egyptians have some knowledge of flight? Back in 1969, an Egyptian doctor named Khalil Messiah proposed a pretty cool idea. What if this bird was actually a model of an ancient flying machine? People have crafted replicas of the artifact to test how aerodynamic it is, and some of these models have been found to glide pretty well when thrown. If it's not an ancient depiction of a plane, that kid back in the day had a pretty cool toy. Well, we're talking about another find in Saqqara. Near the pyramid of Djoser, archaeologists came across 24 coffin-shaped black boxes carved from solid Aswan granite. This rock is incredibly tough, so tough that even modern tools have trouble scratching it. So, the fact that some of these boxes have intricate hieroglyphs etched into them is pretty impressive. Not only that, but each box is massive, weighing over 100 tons. Some people think the craftsmanship is so advanced that it feels impossible for ancient Egyptians to have done it alone. And for those who believe in alien involvement, there's a theory that these designs came from somewhere else or were inspired by something advanced. And of course, I can't do this list without talking about the Great Pyramids themselves. Now, while I'm of the belief that ancient Egyptians were just crafty and way ahead of their time, even I can't deny how enticing the idea of extraterrestrial beings assisting in their creation is. Now, aside from how incredible the pyramids are and the mystery surrounding how they were built, we also gotta talk about where they're positioned. The three main pyramids are aligned in a way that closely matches the stars in Orion's belt. The Egyptians definitely had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy. Even more fascinating is the fact that the sizes of the pyramids seem to correspond to the brightness of the stars. Two of the pyramids are nearly identical in height, while the third is about half as tall. In the night sky, two of the stars in Orion's belt shine brightly, with the third star being dimmer, mirroring the layout of the pyramids. The pyramids are also positioned in a nearly straight line with the North Magnetic Pole, so it's very impressive that an ancient civilization had such an advanced knowledge of science, geometry, and astronomy. They had to have had skills and understanding similar to what we have today to design and construct the pyramids with such perfect alignment. And again, the size of the pyramids themselves is also just remarkable. So what do you all think? Did they have some help from extraterrestrial visitors, or were the ancient Egyptians just that ahead of their time?